And good morning. We've got with us joining here on A Firm Foundation for Life with Rick and Jackie. We've got the three Wood County Commissioners, Dr. Doris Herringshaw, Dr. Ted Bowlus, and I'm going to add Dr. Craig LaHote. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, good morning.
Our
Good morning.
18th annual State of the County with the County Commissioners from the Wood County Fair live. And I just had a little tidbit for you guys. Back when we did the first show here in 2001, the Portage River was it's almost complete now, but that was the big topic of our program, the Portage River cleaning. That was 17, 18 years ago. Took that long. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
Well, it was a pretty involved project. It was one that had never been accomplished or tackled by the county because it was a 3-county project, first of all. So there are 9 county commissioners that have to agree. It was 48 miles long.
How many property owners?
Like 3,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was
Takes a lot of people.
It was a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that which complicated it just a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Just
I think we have.
just the surveying took a number of years.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. And the technology was so different back then. The
GPS and everything.
all of those things
Yeah.
have really helped move this along. So
Well,
Absolutely.
congratulations. You guys get to
Yes.
share in the glory of all that.
yes.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about elected officials. We have one new one, Judge Molly Mack. How's she doing?
I guess you're looking at me. She's doing great.
Yeah.
Her comment is, "I'm back to the county," because she did work in the prosecutor's
Right,
office.
Right.
And then she moved to municipal court in Perrysburg and northern Wood County, and now she is back in the Wood County courthouse.
Now, don't we have another judge that's going to be retiring soon? No. We got it. We're all set?
We're set.
Okay.
And Matt Rieger
Took Alan
Judge
Mabers.
Rieger, yeah,
Right.
no, he took Pollock's
Okay,
place
Bob Pollock's.
several years ago. So
we may have Alan Mayberry retiring then. Sometime.
At some
time
point.
will tell.
Okay.
Time will tell.
Okay.
But,
Go ahead.
no, Matt's doing, Judge Rieger he's been great with the seniors
Yeah.
of Wood
Oh, yeah.
County. He's been, and the students, he's been inviting them into the courtroom and teaching them, which is awesome.
Yes.
He just came back from Ukraine, too, helping out.
Again?
Monitoring the elections over
I
there.
love it. I
Yes.
love it.
Yes.
Well, when we were at the meeting in March, one of the main topics that you guys all weighed in on was public safety. Number one challenge of an elected official. I think everybody spoke on that. If you would address that a little bit, it hasn't changed. I imagine the county commissioners from years ago didn't worry too much about that, but with the drugs and that sort of thing, it's become a big issue today, hasn't it?
It had. I don't know historically how the numbers have been in Wood County, but it's more than half of our budget goes towards public safety. And that's pretty typical throughout Ohio. We hear from the other counties, too, that it's 50, 60, sometimes 70% of their budget goes towards that. So I would imagine it would maybe be less in the past, but it's a lot of money. But overall, I think we're in pretty good shape with where ours is. The sheriff's keeps a close eye on his budget, and we've tried to do things as efficiently as possible. But as we've heard from families and the employers in the area, it's a growing problem, and it spreads out all over the place, and it's a real challenge to deal with.
And you three have had to learn about some of this too, haven't you, as commissioners when you came in? And
Sure.
These kind of drug issues and things like that. I know Dr. Bowlus has been involved in that, but even at that, there's still been learning new things about this, hasn't there?
Oh, yeah. The
You've
drug
had some
issue,
seminars. You've had some seminars about it.
We have. Wood County had sponsored seminars with Bowling Green State University in a collaborative. And that's been very helpful at what we're trying to accomplish. But in terms of safety, the drug issue blends in with safety.
Sure.
The addicts, of course, have a high incidence of burglaries, and they cause problems. But we are attacking that problem, the drug issue, and
The sheriff has a special program too for recovery.
well, the sheriff
Yeah.
actually does, and he and the
prosecutor.
prosecutor, Paul Dobson, blend it together to create an ARC program, and that's treatment in lieu of jail time, and that's been fairly successful. It's a difficult issue, but it has been very successful.
That it helps with the self-esteem that goes along with the drug issue.
Yes.
The individual loses their self-esteem, and it helps them gain it back. So
Right. And that's,
it's positive.
and a lot of people don't realize that, but if somebody is in jail and they have an addiction problem, they have psychological counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is approached along with the addiction.
What is something like Narcan? What has that done to the budget?
Well, it's taken a bit of the budget.
Yeah.
But
How much is a dose? How much is a dose of that? Like a couple $100, isn't it? When you save somebody.
It depends on a lot of things. Now, we're getting it at a lesser expense
Okay.
than we did before,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's basically about $30 to $50
Okay.
now per dose, and sometimes it requires multiple doses.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things we're monitoring in the success of the ARC program is the amount of Narcan that we're using,
Mm-hmm.
and we are using less Narcan than we did before. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a drug that they administer to people so they don't want drugs.
Right.
Talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that. That's
Well,
something new.
Yeah, that's called Suboxone.
Okay.
And Suboxone, of course, is used after the Vivitrol. The person is on Vivitrol for X number of months, and it's a once a month dosage.
It takes away the craving,
and
right?
Yes, the Vivitrol takes away the craving. It doesn't affect the withdrawal symptoms, but Suboxone takes away the withdrawal symptoms, which are extremely severe.
Sure.
If you've ever had the flu, multiply that by 50, and you have what it feels like. So, the Suboxone is very important in terms of treatment.
So do you feel, Dr. Bowlus, that we've made some progress on this? I don't want to say we've turned the corner, but we're certainly making progress.
We have, and it's going to be a long-term situation. The Educational Service Center, Wood County, spearheaded by Kyle Clark and Mylan Karna, have put in a lot of time and effort in training and speaking to the middle school, even far down as the elementary, and the middle school and the upper levels. So that's been a benefit. The ARC program has been a benefit. And then the programs that we are in collaboration with BGSU have been a benefit.
And you know where we come down. Prevention, prevention, prevention.
Yes.
Number one.
It's a pervasive problem because the sheriff has said that 90% plus of the people in jail are there because of theft or some drug-related issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if we get a handle on that, we'll be ahead of the game. Okay, revenue estimates. I was reading about revenue estimates. How much of that, when you're estimating for your budget for the county, how much of that is a guesstimate? At what point, or how many? You're probably doing it all year long, or there's somebody probably reviewing this constantly, isn't there? Talk about that process, if you would.
We have a budget person in our office, basically, that works somewhat with that. And then it's really talking with the auditor and the treasurer, and we have a quarterly finance committee meeting with an investor too, so our financial advisor. So we work together very closely to see what the projection is and what has happened in Wood County that may increase our sales tax, or maybe it will lessen our sales tax, depending on the situation at hand.
Yeah. Now, we know the three of you pretty well. Which one really has a passion for this budget stuff? I'm looking at Doris. Is she the one?
Well, fortunately, like I said,
Yeah.
we have a great administrator and with Andrew Kelmar, and we also have someone that works with the budget very closely in the assistant administrator. So we have people that work on that.
Yeah.
You have a team.
Yes, absolutely.
You have a
And-
team.
Well, we certainly benefited in Wood County by the shopping up in the northern part of the county, and that sort of thing has helped our sales tax revenue. If you would talk a little bit about that. Buy Wood County, right? That's the slogan?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
And,
order Wood County too.
Yeah. Starting in August, we collect tax on online sales.
Okay.
There's a threshold. I believe it's 100,000 a year or 200 transactions, and above that level, then anyone out of state selling into Ohio will need to charge sales tax.
So how's that going to work? If we order something, Jackie and I living here in Bowling Green, that'll generate sales for Wood County, right?
Right,
Yes.
you will pay tax on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of even the playing field because that's always been one of the complaints from a lot of the mom and pops is that
Sure.
it's not fair that they have to charge sales tax and the online doesn't. It has put them at a disadvantage. So now that's leveled that playing field.
Okay.
You follow that,
Yeah.
Jackie? Yeah. It was a big controversy for
Absolutely.
years.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Investment income's up.
Yes, absolutely. But, think about your personal investment. All of the investment interest seems to be increasing. So that certainly helps us. We're not even near what we were
Oh, I know.
years ago.
Yeah.
2007, 2008. Yeah.
Yes. But it's up $490,000 from 2018. So
Wow.
that's an
It's a
increase.
good up.
Yeah. It's up 65%.
Right. And when I first came to the county, we barely talked about interest
Yeah,
income
yeah.
because there just wasn't any interest.
But-
Very little.
Yeah,
Keep
you-
it going,
You
guys.
should understand we're very conservative.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not extravagant.
Yeah. Do you have trouble agreeing on any of these things, or is it? That's why I was looking at Doris. I know how Doris is, and we've known each other for years, and how frugal she is, and the background she came from. And I just was curious who kind of leads the charge on these budget things.
Well, some of those items, like in particular the investments, that's we're constrained by the Ohio Revised Code and the type of investments that we can
Yeah,
make. So
yeah.
that by its nature makes them very conservative.
Okay.
Okay, local government fund. Now that's been going down constantly, hasn't it?
Oh, but in this state budget, it went up.
Oh, that's right.
What's that number, Craig?
0.02%.
Yeah.
Thanks to Mike DeWine.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's the legislature or if it was something that he had instigated. But
Yeah, it's not a big enough number that there was a lot of discussion about ahead of time. We just kind of
No.
received that notice.
As far as your connections with the state, who are you mainly dealing with? Teresa or the governor or Haraz or everybody?
Well, most closely, I would say Teresa and Haraz.
Okay.
Because we go directly to them with our interest, our concerns.
Through the legislature. then.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So there doesn't much come from the governor's office.
Not directly to us.
Okay.
Okay.
Because we really like Governor DeWine. We've gotten to know him pretty well, and his wife, and seems just like he's got a handle on everything, and concerned about everything around the state. When I listen to him,
I think
just
his
terrific.
budget is very county and local government friendly.
Friendly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, the
Yep.
casino tax, that's up. I know we always had concerns about counting on that. We never knew which way that was going to go.
Right. And it's certainly less than what their original prediction was, but we're staying right at 1.5 million each year.
Okay.
Right in that
Okay.
area.
And all this, as we talked about, all this works together because it helps our bond rating. Talk about that, what it means to people.
It does. We got upgraded from AA2 to AA1, so that's the one notch below AAA, which government hardly ever gets.
Sure.
So that's very good. There's some things we're looking at, capital projects and so forth in the future, and if we need to borrow money and issue any type of bonds, that's definitely going to come in our favor in terms of a better interest rate.
Just for the county, it helps other businesses too, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And talk about that's a spinoff
Right.
to other businesses.
There are other entities who might borrow money and they can basically rely on our bond rating, like the hospital in their last renovation was able to piggyback with the county to use that bond rating and get a great.
Yeah. Or a jail expansion, anything like that.
Right.
It might
Right.
pertain to that sort of thing. Okay, let's talk about some of the infrastructure projects because I know these roundabouts have caught on. What's the feedback on those in general? We're trying to get used to the ones that are now in.
Yeah.
Rick had practice on the roundabouts when we went to England,
Yeah.
up to St. Andrews.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, forgive me, but the first time we hit a roundabout, we went around 3 times because we couldn't figure out where to get off.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we've been fine ever
The
since.
newer ones here seem to be better designed than
Yes.
those ones that Jackie's talking about in
Yes.
Scotland and England and everything.
And I think they've gotten the signage,
yeah, better.
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
it's easier to figure out where you're at and which branch you really want to take off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a learning curve.
Okay.
And I think people
Is
are
pun
adapting.
intended on that one, Ted?
Yes,
Okay.
but I won't mention that.
Yeah. The like the one in Perrysburg, the 5-diamond exit there and everything. I'm still cringe every time I come in there and make sure I'm in the
Oh, the
right lane.
divergent
Yeah, the
diamond.
divergent diamond. And
That is very confusing, to say the least, and it really, I just cringe whenever I have to go up that way.
It does keep the traffic flowing. though.
Yeah, it does.
It sure does.
And the one up there in Lucas County, the
yeah,
same way.
Central Avenue.
Yeah,
That's
Central.
really something.
Yeah.
So the feedback from the engineer, the county engineer, would be good on those. We're going to see more of them, you think, in the future?
I would guess that is the trend right now.
Yeah.
And many of these are on state highways.
Yeah.
So they would be ODOT instigated. But when we talk to people at TMCOG in transportation, they say, it's better for the air quality.
Because cars aren't sitting there as
Right,
idling?
it's
Is that what-
not
okay.
stopping
and starting.
Yeah.
And also, the accidents they do have are not deadly. They are maybe
Just
scraped.
little fender bumper.
Oh, okay, because you're only
So-
going 15 or 20 mile an hour
Right,
around. I never even
right.
thought of that.
Yeah.
So you're not getting
So-
T-boned or people
Yeah,
running a
that's
stop
true.
sign. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good. What about cost on that sort of thing? Is it a lot more expensive for those? Or don't you know?
They can be more expensive.
Depending on what they have to fix.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
on an
In that
existing
area?
intersection, there may have to be land acquisition. For example, the one at Buck
okay.
Road in Lime City required some property to be acquired in order to do that. So that can be part of the cost depending on where it is.
Okay.
If you take a look at the one they have in Bowling Green, 75 in Worcester,
That just opened.
yes, that's more of a modification of the regular roundabouts. And so because it's modification, it's going to cost a lot
Oh,
more.
yes, because you've got 2 lanes, one coming off the roundabout and the other one coming off the exit.
Yes.
Combining. Okay, I see that,
But
where
it's-
that would.
It's very efficient.
Yeah,
If you're going southbound and want to turn right on Worcester, you just blend right in. You don't even need to enter the roundabout.
right.
Same going southbound, and if you want to turn to the right toward Meyer.
Yes.
So it's modification,
Yeah.
and they are expensive. But the regular ones, of course, are not.
Well, the important thing out here at Worcester at 75 was making it walkable too. Pedestrian friendly, bicycle friendly. There wasn't any provisions for that in the original design. Yeah. From a construction standpoint, which I'm a construction professional, I admire the guy that figured all this out in the design process.
Absolutely.
Might be easy on
Right.
paper, but then to get it out there and make it work in the land, and all the elevation changes and everything, I got to give the guy a lot of credit. Same thing in Perrysburg with that too. Let's talk about water quality. Where do we stand on that this year? It's been a big issue 3-4 years ago, but it seems to be quieting down a little bit, improving. Where do we stand on that? We have studies going on here in Wood County with the farms.
The studies, well, in terms of water sources, I think
Yeah.
the studies are pretty well wrapped up.
Okay.
We're kind of coming to the bottom of the funnel here, and they've narrowed down the choices. So Perrysburg, in particular, needs to make a decision pretty soon as to which direction they're going to go.
You mean Bowling Green water or Toledo water? Is that
Right.
what you're talking about?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The aquifer's out. That's out.
From what I'm
I
hearing,
think
that-
yes.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
because it's so expensive, even if it were usable here, it's so expensive to get it transported from Williams County,
Okay,
that
okay.
area, to Wood County.
Okay.
And it's a volume of water they need. It's they can do tests to determine if they can pull that amount out now, but it's kind of like it's a giant sponge underground, and they really don't know how much is there, how it can be replenished. So you could spend all that money to run a pipe and do that, and run out of water 20 years down the road. It's
And then what?
It's a little bit riskier.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, other county news, we've got drop-off recycling. Talk about that if you would. Leading into the discussion about the landfill.
Well, the drop-offs, we have many around the county, and they seem to be functioning very well. The people are getting used to it.
They're open 24 hours a day. People
They
can
are.
just show up.
They are. And we've had a few problems with paper blowing, and there's
Bins are
another
full?
problem.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
If the bins get full, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And we ran into another problem recently with Perrysburg Township where there was a lot of boxes being placed in these containers. And the people have not been flattening the boxes,
Okay.
so they occupy a lot of volume. Therefore, they were overflowing. And we helped Perrysburg Township with solutions to that. So we feel that the problem that they face will be overcome.
Sure.
And,
Well,
so,
the more people know about it and the education.
yes.
It seems to me, from the experience I have with renters, that people want to recycle. I guess we have to make it cost effective. That's what we really, our biggest
Right.
concern, right?
And
Yes.
easy.
Yeah.
You know, if it's convenient for them to do it, then they
Right.
will recycle.
Right.
In fact, we have a increase of 740% recycling over what we've had like a year ago. So
Wow.
with that 24/7 in 13 different locations in the county really does make a difference.
Sure it does. Because
Yeah.
you've got people working 24/7,
Right.
so you're making it convenient.
Yeah.
Well, one of our biggest assets, and I mention this every year, is our landfill. I was there twice this week.
It's
And,
Rick's favorite spot.
Yeah, talk
in Wood
about
County.
convenient and accessible. Yeah. No. Yeah.
He must have a lot of trash.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Building
you're in
houses,
construction, I
yeah.
understand
yeah,
that,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, and I took a whole load of drywall out there, and people say, well, you're throwing all that away. I said, well, if I'm building your house, you don't want me to use scraps, right? Well, and then they changed their tune real quickly. They understand. Well, you're going to extend the landfill, means it would go higher for 100 years? Is that what the plan is?
It would spread out.
Oh, spread out. Okay.
To the north.
So we have more land there. We're just going to use it. Okay. We don't have a permit for that yet, right?
It's pretty close. I
Okay.
think it's 2 public hearings and input from EPA as well as written comments, so it should be on.
Are we
on
as high
target.
as we're going to go? There's a height limit too, so we're about there?
Getting close.
Okay.
But I think we have to give credit to the past commissioners for the foresight to get that property so that
Yeah.
we can
Right.
expand.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we grew up in eastern Ohio where we used to just throw our garbage over the hill. Jackie and I
You
have
did,
seen.
I didn't.
Jackie and I've seen a full cycle of this.
Yes.
I mean, all the ravines in eastern Ohio were full of tires and garbage and everything. That was the whole impetus behind the state getting a handle on this, and very few people remember that. Just throw it over the hill. Okay, let's see. The dog park next to the dog shelters received some improvements. We don't use that, so tell us about it.
Well, it's, the dog park itself is basically like 3 fenced-in areas.
Okay.
And we have made it easier for people to use those areas, and we limit their use to either 1 or 2 of those particular fenced-in areas. One for security. The other reason is when it's muddy and not great conditions, that dog park, if it gets a lot of use, certainly could use some help. So we can take the dog park owners and put their dogs when they come into a different compartment, basically, or different fenced-in area, while the grass grows back and while we bring it back to par.
Well, that attitude had to come from a golf course, right? Just like moving the tees around on the tee
You're
box so they
right,
don't get all
right.
torn up. Okay.
Well, there were some improvements to the drainage too, so that
Right.
that problem doesn't occur as
Yeah.
often.
Yep, and there was some improvement in the walkways on getting your dog into whatever area is open. So.
Yeah, you listen to Affirm Foundation this morning. It's Rick and Jackie live from the Wood County Fair, our 18th annual State of the County with the Wood County Commissioners, Doris Herringshaw, Dr. Doris Herringshaw, Dr. Ted Bowlus, and Dr. Craig LaHote. We've given him his doctor's degree this morning, so he fits in better with the crowd. The Net Plus, non-emergency transportation, that's got to be a big thing for Wood County residents, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Net Plus, it's an acronym for non-emergency transportation, first of all, and it's been very successful. They give on average about 1,000 rides per month. That
A
is
month. Okay.
A month,
is
yes.
amazing.
Yeah. That's 30 or
but-
40 a day.
Yes,
Okay.
it's very active. But it's for transporting people to their health appointments, psychological health, substance abuse, and physical health. So
Because a lot of these individuals may have had their license revoked or just not have any mode of transportation.
right, they may not be able to afford a car.
Right.
They may be elderly and don't want to drive.
Right.
And
Is
so on.
there an area or a pocket where most of these calls come from, or is it spread out all over the county?
I would say it's
all
spread
over.
out.
Yeah.
I do think it's spread out.
Because I know we get calls at the senior center and we put them in touch with that.
You know, but the nice thing is it's financed by 4 entities.
Yes.
And basically it's financed through Medicaid. We, the commissioners, help. The Adamas Board and the Board of Health. So we all contribute, but mainly it's Medicaid.
Okay.
So
Okay. And the new dental facility out the health department's now functioning, right?
yes.
Okay. And that's a big thing. A lot of people don't realize how important dental care is. Okay, let's talk about the sheriff. He wanted to say some good things about him this morning. And he's talking about the expansion there at the jail.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but there's a growing need.
Will that ever
Yeah.
level off, or is that just going to be ongoing?
Well, the big challenge now is female housing, especially secure
It's
housing
unfortunate.
for females.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
And when the
unfortunately.
jails were designed, they didn't anticipate that, and the rules have changed now, and that they have to be separated. They can't hear or see each other. So there's all sorts of extra things that have to be done to keep them separate. And so that's part of the challenge is that
Sure.
dealing with that change in population. But it's a nationwide issue.
Sure, especially with immigration and stuff. We see the problems down there and how they can turn these things into news stories when they really aren't. We're just trying to make it work, right?
Yeah. So that's part of the concern is we spend the money to do that, and then the need goes way down the road. But I guess that would be a good problem.
That'd be a
to
good
have, is
problem
if
to
we
have.
Right.
Have
a
extra
lot of
space
vacant
out there.
space.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the good things here in economic development. Which one do you want to start with?
I
Everybody wants to hear about Amazon, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's probably the
sure.
most recent one.
Yeah.
Yes, it certainly is. It certainly is.
Yeah, that's going to be a major project in the crossroads there, and they typically, when they locate a facility like that in an area, there's 4, 5, 6 other companies that will want to co-locate there to do business with them to facilitate that. So probably more announcements and more jobs to come as a result of that, in addition to what we're already aware
Have we
of.
got the land for it there, for the expansion?
They have the land, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then do we have the workers?
Well, that's the other challenge. They're a little bit higher on the wage scale, so a lot of their workers will probably come from someplace else where they
But
had an
is it
existing
build it
job.
and they will come?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then do we then do we have the houses, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, affordable housing, and if they pull workers from other companies, and those companies have to find people, so it's an ongoing problem. But again, a good one to have. It's better than the
Don't
alternative.
get any ideas, Rick.
I don't have any ideas. Everybody asks me about it. I say I don't have any ideas. Okay, you want to talk about First Solar?
Sure. First Solar is adding or building an additional facility, and it will be, the new investment totals about $177 million, and they will be making the solar panels. They have, I think he told me they have orders up through three years.
Yes.
So,
Do they have any competition in the U.S. or is it just from China? I never hear about anybody other than First Solar. I don't. Must have a limited amount of competition.
that could be. And their other facility is in Vietnam.
Okay.
So their engineers go back and forth between Vietnam and U.S. And he said that they've told us that the good news about that is there's 12 hours difference.
Right.
So they can do a lot of conference calling and those kinds of things that everybody can still be at work at both places, and they won't have to be up in the middle of the night to
Yeah,
figure out what's going on. A while ago, they had some employees they let go, and now they're have refilled those positions and really upgraded the facility that they had, and now they're adding the second facility, which will provide quite a bit of money for the school district, and so it really does help the community a lot.
When you're out here at the fair, do people realize how important manufacturing and these jobs are to our economic base in the county? When you're over there at the booth and you're talking to people that come by, do you ever get questions about that? Well, why are we worried about jobs and this and that, and how it all works together for the good of everybody? Everybody benefits by this, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know if people realize it because we've always been blessed with having that in the area, but
Yeah.
we've talked to commissioners and officials from other areas, particularly in Ohio,
Yeah.
and if they don't have that, you can look at a home that's approximately the same type of home that's here, but you'll find that the property taxes are just so much higher because they don't have that other base to help contribute to the tax.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize. They say, why are we using this farmland up for this or that? And well, we've got to balance. We've got to find that balance, right?
Right.
Well, I'd like to have a little input. Speaking of farming, I don't want to run out of time with what's happened here in Wood County with the weather and all of that. I'll let Doris start on that. We've never seen this happen, right?
Absolutely.
You go
correct.
back even
And-
further than me, right?
Right, and I absolutely hope I never see it again.
What's going to be
So,
the results of all this? Most
I
people
don't
took their
know.
insurance. Okay.
A lot of people did have crop insurance, which will give them some money for inputs and some of those kinds of things to cover some of those costs. They've also, through Soil and Water Conservation, came up with a prevent plant program that gives farmers a certain dollar amount per acre to plant rye or wheat or something as a cover crop, so we don't have all of the erosion that might have. And then commissioners also matched that with $40,000. So that we were trying to help out that farm population a little bit and actually help our water quality and help keep
Right.
the soil where it belongs. If you go to the south, you'll see lots of fields that look like a few weeds here or there,
Yeah.
or nothing at all. And I think we said today, we read that there was 130,000 acres of corn that was not planted in Wood County this
Yes.
year.
Wow.
Yes.
And
That's a lot.
that's phenomenal.
Now there is
So-
some beans
my.
coming up here and there.
Right, because you can plant beans later.
Yeah.
And if they don't mature in time, you can also use them as a cover crop,
Okay.
okay? Where corn had to be planted by a particular date
To mature.
for maturity and for crop insurance. So in our particular situation, we planted 25 acres of corn out of about 1,000. So, and I think that's just very typical in my part of the county anyway.
You know, from non-farmers like Jackie and I, we realized one Saturday morning about a month ago what this has done to us just visually from a seasonal standpoint. You're going down Route 25, and you're used to seeing fields growing up with corn or beans and everything, and they're brown, and it just doesn't register that it's July. It just doesn't fit, does
usually
it?
the corn is
Yeah,
already
yeah.
sky high, and
yeah.
it's not. And it's like,
Just the psychological.
Right.
And I imagine for a farming family like you, Doris, and Paul, that's got to be just playing on your mind, doesn't it?
Right. And I told Paul, one of the things that bothers me the most is to look out my kitchen window and not see a field of beans or a field of corn, and it's just, weeds that have now turned brown, but
Right.
that's it. And it's like, okay, this is not the way it's supposed to be.
Do we know what the economic impact is going to be as it funnels through? Shortages of hay and straw and bidding and things like that?
That's certainly going to be part of it. And then most of our grain in this part of the state is used for livestock feeding, either chickens or pigs or whatever. So there's some question what the price of some of those animal products will do in the fall, too.
sure.
Has there been
So-
any discussion about how widespread this is across the Midwest of the United States?
It's pretty widespread. We were in Illinois about a month ago, and it's as bad in Indiana and Illinois, at least along the turnpike, as it is here. So we've all had some tough times.
Well.
And of course, the Mississippi,
all the flooding along
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that hasn't totally gone down
Down
where
either.
it needs to go.
Wow.
So there's a lot of unusual things happening.
So
I
you
guess
you may have some budget issues and things in the future that we have to relook at and revisit as the results of all this come in. And
Well, maybe, but the other thing that's really good about Wood County is we're very diverse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Iowa and Illinois, there are some counties that is 100%
100%, sure.
agriculture. We have a lot of economic development. We have a lot of job opportunities, and that certainly helps balance all of this out.
Well, I want to thank you three. I know that I was telling Dr. Bowlus earlier that we've gotten to know everybody and we have quality government here in Wood County. And we turn on the TV and we watch what's happening in the nation, and we just have to turn it off sometimes because if we had problems like that here in Wood County, we'd solve them, wouldn't we? Huh? You three
Yeah,
dig
that's
your,
right.
you three dig your heels in,
do.
and we'd
You
solve them.
guys
We do.
Yeah, they just let them go on there.
Are
Well,
awesome.
yeah. Well, it's Rick and Jackie, Northwest Iowa's most trusted hosts, our State of the County, our 18th annual live from the Wood County Fair on this Saturday, and we'll be back with more on 1370 WSPD and 929 FM.